Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths by Jennifer Zheng. On September 14th, the U.S. Embassy in Beijing suddenly announced that the U.S. Ambassador to the People's Republic of China, Terry Branstad, will retire from his position as U.S. envoy and depart Beijing in early October. The ambassador confirmed his decision to President Trump by phone last week. It was said that the U.S. did not notify Beijing about this, and this was a big embarrassment for the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. Although most of the U.S. media choose to use Terry Branstad stepping down as the titles to cover this news, many overseas Chinese commentators are saying that this is a very significant, even symbolic event in terms of U.S.-China relations. It is a proactive move on the U.S. side to downgrade its relationship with the People's Republic of China, and could even be an indication that one day the U.S. might cut off its diplomatic relations with the CCP altogether. Why do they say this, and is it possible? Today, let's discuss these issues. Many people noticed that the U.S. Embassy in Beijing did not give any reasons for Branstad's early departure. The press statement only talked about his achievements in the past 3 years, and that the ambassador will return to Iowa after leaving Beijing. In the meantime, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo sent 3 tweets on the same day to praise Branstad's service to American people. Although Fox did mention that Branstad could help President Trump with his re-election campaign after he leaves Beijing, that was only what Branstad intends to do after he leaves, not the reason why he decided to step down early. To understand the reason behind the event, we need to check out another very interesting incident that happened right before this. On August 26, the U.S. Embassy in Beijing contacted the CCP's mouthpiece People's Daily and requested that they publish Ambassador Branstad's article titled "Resetting the Relationship Based on Reciprocity." The article's main point is that the imbalanced relationship between the U.S. and China needs to be reset based on the principle of reciprocity. On September 9th, the People's Daily rejected this request, saying that the content of this article is riddled with flaws, which is seriously inconsistent with the facts and is not in line with the criteria that People's Daily, as a well-known, serious and professional media, has always upheld for the selection and publication of its articles. If the United States still wishes to publish this article in the People's Daily, it should make substantive changes to the articles in light of the facts and in accordance with the principles of equality and mutual respect. Secretary Pompeo immediately sent a tweet as a response, saying that the Chinese Communist Party complains about a lack of fair and reciprocal treatment with the U.S. At the same time, the CCP refuses to run Ambassador Branstad's op-ed in the People's Daily, while their ambassador is free to publish in any U.S. media outlets. On the same day, the U.S. Department of State published a press statement titled "The Hypocrisy of PRC's Propaganda System," saying that the People's Daily's response once again exposes the Chinese Communist Party's fear of free speech and serious intellectual debate, as well as Beijing's hypocrisy when it complains about lack of fair and reciprocal treatment in other countries. If Communist China is sincere about becoming a mature power and strengthening relations with the free world, General Secretary Xi Jinping's government would respect the right for Western diplomats to speak directly to the Chinese people, allow foreign journalists back into China, and stop the intimidation and harassment of investigative journalists, foreign and Chinese, who strive to uphold the integrity of the Fifth Estate to serve the public good. The website of U.S. Embassy in China not only immediately published a Chinese version of the above statement, but also posted it on its social media accounts in China, including Weibo and WeChat. Initially, the statement survived on Weibo and WeChat, but was banned from being shared. People couldn't post comments as well. Several hours later, it was deleted. Then, several days later, Ambassador Branstad announced his early retirement. So, these are the events on the surface that we can see, but there are more under the surface that we didn't see. What are the things that we didn't get to see? According to many Chinese analysts, as well as the CCP spokesman Zhao Lijian, the U.S. Embassy's request to ask the People's Daily to publish Branstad's article is a deliberately designed trap to find fault with the CCP. Zhao Lijian said at a press conference, quote, "It is false that the U.S. side wished to publish an article, and it is true that it set out to frame the Chinese side," unquote. Many Chinese analysts agreed to Zhao's point. The reasoning is that Ambassador Branstad knew very well that the People's Daily would not dare to publish his article. But why would he still do such a useless thing knowingly? It was because the U.S. government wanted to show its people as well as the world that the true face of the CCP, to win more understanding and support for its tougher Chinese policies. According to one Chinese commentator, Qin Peng, the fact that the U.S. Embassy in China published the statement that sharply criticizes the CCP in Chinese language and on its Chinese social media accounts indicates three things. One, it is the U.S. that proactively attacked the CCP. Two, the statement didn't use China to refer to China like before, but used the People's Republic of China instead. As the People's Republic of China is usually used as opposed to the Republic of China, this could be an indication that the U.S. was acknowledging that there is the Republic of China. Three, it also means that Trump has made up his mind to destroy the CCP. When an official resigns early, there could be several reasons. One, he has a health problem and cannot work. Two, his supervisor is unhappy about him and wants to replace him. Three, he is unhappy about his job and wants to quit. Judging from the fact that Secretary Pompeo spoke highly of Branstad, and Branstad is going to campaign for President Trump, we could see that none of the three reasons applies to Branstad. Then the most likely reason is that the U.S. government wants him to leave early to create a de facto situation in which there will be no U.S. ambassador in China. So the U.S. wants to deliberately downgrade its diplomatic relationship with the CCP. Please also note that the U.S. didn't announce a successor for Branstad. If after Branstad leaves in early October as planned, there is still no one to take over his post, this kind of situation may remain until the US election is over in November or even after Trump finishes his current term of office in next January. If this really is the case, it will be another unprecedented situation between the US and Communist China. Many Chinese people still remember that during the chaotic times of China's civil war in the late 1940s, when the CCP overturned the legitimate government of the Kuomintang, the US didn't recall its ambassador. Instead, even after the CCP occupied Nanjing, which was previously the capital city of Kuomintang's regime, the U.S. ambassador of that time, John Nathan Stroit, did not leave China. Instead, he started to talk with the CCP's representative only 13 days after the CCP took over Nanjing. The U.S. government was observing the CCP's regime and considering whether to establish a diplomatic relationship. Stroit was only called back to the U.S. after the CCP head Mao Zedong published an article on the people's diplomatic dictatorship, showing that the CCP has chosen the Soviet Union over the US. However, before he left, Stroit was still trying to visit Beijing to negotiate with the CCP's top leaders. So, in this sense, the current situation is more serious than this time in 1949, when the CCP just oversaw the Kuomintang's government, which had a strong and good relationship with the US. While the US is downgrading its diplomatic relationship with the CCP's regime, it is upgrading its relationship with Taiwan or the Republic of China. Yesterday, on September 16th, only 2 days after the U.S. Embassy in Beijing announced Branstad's early departure, the U.S. Department of State announced U.S. Under-Secretary of State Keith Krach's visit to Taiwan. The Foreign Ministry of Taiwan also announced that during Krach's visit to Taiwan from today, which is September 17th to September 19th, he will be meeting with President Tsai Ing-wen and other senior officials and attending a memorial service to former President Lee Teng-hui. This is, no doubt, a huge diplomatic victory for Taiwan, as at one point in 1979, the U.S. had granted the CCP full diplomatic recognition while severing normal ties with Taiwan. So, the contrast between how the U.S. is treating the People's Republic of China and the Republic of China is staggering. Some commentators are even predicting a visit to Taiwan by Secretary Pompeo or even President Trump himself in the near future. Well, just like I said in my previous show, the CCP, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the U.S. romance of four kingdoms. When some forces are rising, other forces are falling. We are not only witnessing big changes unfolding right in front of our eyes, but are also given the opportunity to participate and play a part in these historic events and changes. And I'll discuss further one of the most important changes of our time, the possible ways and steps of the CCP's demise next time. So stay tuned. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Truth saves lives. Please do subscribe to my channel, share it with friends and family, and check out my other videos. Thank you. See you next time.